Hey, what's up everyone? GameDad here, coming at you guys with a brand new collection series. This time we are taking a look at everything that I currently have in my NES collection. So, sit back and enjoy part 1 of my NES collection. Alright, so up first we have 10 Yard Fight, released by IREM in 1985, and this is your typical NES style sports game. So you got your top-down football going on, and the game is okay, but honestly I think there are some better football games on the NES. Up next is 720, released by Tengen in 1989, and personally, I'm more of a fan of the Skate or Die series, but 720 is just a classic. It is a little difficult to navigate on an NES. It's a lot easier on the arcade with that ball controller. Here we have Adventure Island, released by Hudson Soft in 1988, and this is a fun side-scrolling platformer kind of runner-style game. So you go through, you're collecting different upgrades and different items and stuff, dodging enemies, and just having a good time. Here is Adventure Island 3, released by Now Production in 1991, and this takes from the previous two games and just kind of builds on it even more. As you can see, there is more of an actual overworld and more of a clearly laid out game design, and it really shows in the overall gameplay. Now here is The Adventures of Bayou Billy, released by Konami in 1989, and this is a kind of beat-em-up style game. You go through, you're playing as Bayou Billy, and you're just having some classic beat-em-up action. Now, here we have A Boy and His Blob Trouble on Bloblonia, released by Imagineering in 1990, and this is kind of a find the item, side-scrolling, kind of action-y sort of game. I mean, it's pretty fun, but not the greatest. Next up is Abba Doc, released by Natsume in 1990, and this is a shoot-'em-up style game set in a bunch of different alien worlds and stuff, and this is actually the very first shoot-'em-up game that I ever played as a kid, so I've got a lot of fun nostalgic memories for this game. Next up is Air Fortress, released by HAL Laboratory in 1989, and this is another shoot-'em-up style game. You're just going through, as you can see, you're kind of at like a space station looking thing right here, and you just go through, collect your power-ups, and keep playing through that game. Up next, we got Al Unser Jr.'s Turbo Racing, released by Data East in 1990, and as you can see, you got a couple of different modes that you can choose from. You got some different options that you can set up, and then you go out and you do some IndyCar racing Grand Prix style. A lot of fun. Up next, we have Anticipation, released by Rare in 1988, and this one's kind of fun because it's kind of like a version of Pictionary, but on the NES. As you can see right here, I am in the alphabet mode, so you go through and you guess the letter that is being drawn out on the screen. Here we have Arkanoid, released by Taito in 1987, and this is one of those fun NES games that came with a special controller. It gave you that little knob controller just like on an actual arcade machine. So it's fun to go through and play kind of like a breakout style game on the NES. Now, here we have Back to the Future, released by Beam Software in 1989, and try as I might, I just could not get my Retron 5 to actually be able to help me capture any footage for this game. But, I mean, it's probably for the best considering it is an LJN game. Up next is Bad Dudes, released by Data East in 1989, and in this game, classic beat-em-up, side-scrolling action. You're going through and trying to show that you are the baddest dude around. You're just beating up enemies and getting the job done. Up next is Bad Street Brawler, released by Beam Software in 1989, and this is another beat-em-up brawler kind of game. As you can see, the graphics are a little more corny in this, and you get some different moves, but overall, I think Bad Dudes is a lot better. Up next is a classic, Balloon Fight, released by Nintendo in 1986. And in this game, you're flying around, you got some balloons attached to you, and you're trying to take out the other little bird mask wearing enemies and stuff like that. You knock them down, then you knock them out. Next up is Bandai Golf Challenge Pebble Beach, released by TOSE, T-O-S-E, in 1989. And this game is a typical kind of golf game. I didn't really get it very much. I'm not very good at golf personally, but, I mean, it looks okay graphically, I guess. Up next, we got Barbie, released by Imagineering in 1991, and this game sucks. The platforming is terrible. As you can see, everything moves kind of weird and slow. It's buggy. I mean, yeah, whatever. It's just a Barbie game. Now here is a game that does not suck, and that is Bases Loaded, released by TOSE in 1988. And this game is awesome because of the level of detail you can get into for a baseball game. And as you can see, the graphics, as far as the NES goes, look really amazing, and the overall gameplay is a lot of fun. Up next, we have Bases Loaded 2, second season, also released by TOSE in 1990. And this game, it got a graphics jump, it got a little bit more in regards to stats, things like that, but overall, just as fun of a game. And here is Batman, released by Sunsoft in 1990. And this one is an action platformer beat 'em up kind of game. And graphically, I mean, it's pretty darn good for NES days. Gameplay wise, it's okay. It does have some glitchy moments, but overall, I think it's a pretty fun game, even though he is purple. And here is Batman Return of the Joker, released by Sunsoft in 1991. And this game, graphically, is way better. And personally, I think the gameplay made a drastic improvement as well. The overall style of gameplay is kind of the same, but it's just a much better game. And up next, we have Battle Chess, released by Beam Software in 1990. And fun fact about this game, the very first time I ever played a digital chess game, it was Battle Chess, and it was actually for, I believe, Windows 3.1. So that takes you back to quite a long time ago. And here we have Battletoads, released by Rare in 1991. And anyone that knows anything about Battletoads knows that this game is just insanely difficult. But it is also a lot of fun. Graphically, it's awesome. It's another classic Rare game. And yeah, I mean, love having it in the collection. Up next, we have Battletoads and Double Dragon, released by Rare in 1993, and this is a fun crossover of the two games. As you can see, graphically, it's kind of the same thing. They added some new mechanics, stuff like that, but overall, still just another fun game. And here we have our first unlicensed game, which is Bible Adventures, released by Wisdom Tree in 1990. And, you know, say what you will about the whole unlicensed game thing on the NES, but even though these games are pretty religion heavy, they're actually a lot of fun. I mean, they're quick gameplay, they're not some massive crazy story good, but it's fun. Up next, we got Bigfoot by Beam Software in 1990, and this lets you play classic monster truck action, going through some different tracks, stuff like that. I mean, graphically, it's okay. Gameplay, it's a little weird to get used to with their 3D effect, but it's a fun game. Up next is Blaster Master, released by Sunsoft in 1988, and this is an awesome game with a great story, great gameplay mechanics. It can get a little buggy when you get a bunch of the different sprites on screen and stuff, but overall, this game is actually a ton of fun. Another classic, we got Bomberman, released by Hudson Soft in 1989. And this takes every mechanic that you know and love and strips it down bare bones because this was the first iteration of it. It gives you the classic gameplay mechanics and you have some awesome Bomberman fun. Another super fun game on the NES, and that is Breakthrough, released by Data East in 1987. And this one has a nice little overworld to show what's going on. And then you go through in some classic scrolling action, and it's kind of like a shooter, but in a car, so it's fun. Here is Bobble, released by Taito in 1988. And I am personally more of a fan of the Puzzle Bobble games, but this one overall is still fun. It's more of the original style game where you're going through and defeating enemies, getting through the different levels and stuff like that. And here we have Bucky OHare, released by Konami in 1992, and this is one of the more rare games that's actually in my NES collection, and it's one that's actually really fun to play too. Not many people remember the old cartoon, but I remember watching it as a kid, and the game is just as fun. And here we have the Bugs Bunny Birthday Blowout, released by Kemco in 1990. And this one, it's just like a regular platforming game. You get collectibles like carrots and stuff like that. And that's really all it is. It's kind of like a Looney Tunes game overall. Here is one of my personal favorites on the NES, and that is Burger Time, released by Data East in 1987. I don't know what it is about this game, but as a kid, even as an adult now, I mean, it's just so much fun to go through and play Burger Time, no matter what console it's on. I always have a blast. And here we have Captain Skyhawk, released by Rare in 1990. And this one, I really like the 3D effect that it gives the game. I mean, obviously it's not actually in 3D, but as you can see, you know, they really play with the different dimensions of the level design, and it really works well. Here we have Castle Quest, released by ASCII in 1989, and oh man, this game is crap. I mean, it looks like it would be a cute, fun little adventure kind of game, but it's just garbage. The controls suck, the graphics are meh at best, and I just don't like it. Up next, we have Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest, released by Konami in 1988, and this one really expanded on the first game, and they gave you like this sort of village thing that you actually start in instead of just diving right into some levels, so you can go around, buy items, collect different things, and just have fun. And here we have Caveman Games, released by Painting by Numbers in 1990, and this game should have stayed in the prehistoric age that it came from. It's garbage. It tries to be fun for fighting, and it's just not. So there you have it, everyone. That is everything that is currently in part 1 of my NES collection. Now, if you guys like this video, please be sure to let me know down in the comments below, and also be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons and that little notification bell so you get an alert every time I got a new video coming out. Now, as always, I'm GameDad. I thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you later.